This is Jean Baudrillard's Simulacra and Simulation, one of the most important contemporary philosophy books. And this is The Matrix, the action movie franchise with pretentious philosophy. And this is a curious layman who's been trying to get through the maze of verbal terms of French philosopher just for the fun of it. And he is also the person who watched Matrix Resurrections and got inspired to do something, which says a lot about what is coming. First of all, why this book is so relevant, as you most likely click on this video because of the mention of the Matrix. Well, because the movie is misinterpreting all the context that has been laid out in it. At least this is according to the author. Plus, the book got a cameo. That says a lot about the relevance. So I think for those who are a little bit familiar with the film may have noticed that it kind of trying to be somewhat pretentious. And indeed, it did encapsulate some of the philosophy of Jean Baudriard, who even got invited to work on the sequels. However, he refused because he again got semi-insulted and even videoly mentioned that the most embarrassing part of the film is that the new problem posed by simulation is confused with its classical Platonic treatment. The Matrix is surely the kind of film about the Matrix that the Matrix would have been able to produce. So, surely to understand what went wrong, I decided to get to the original script of Jean Baudrillard's work. Did I understand it all? Well, it's rather a complex book that I would need to read at least one more time to fully grasp. So no surprise, Wachowskis got it all wrong, supposedly. To give you an example of how I has been quite confused with what has been explained, we can go to the very beginning of it. And there's a chapter called The Divine Irreference of Images. To dissimulate is to pretend not to have what one has. To simulate is to feign to have what one does not have. One implies an presence, the other an absence. But it is more complicated than that, because simulating is not pretending. Whoever fakes an illness can simply stay in bed and make everyone believe he is ill. Whoever simulates an illness produces in himself some of the symptoms. Therefore, pretending or dissimulating leaves the principle of reality intact. The difference is always clear, it is simply masked, whereas simulation threatens the difference between the true and the false, the real and the imaginary. So, with this example, to say it in simpler words, usually we understand that we are sick if we're not feeling well. So we are most likely having some kind of a symptom that shows that we're ill. For example, a fever or a cough. However, if we're actually healthy, there are two ways for us to sort of change the status that we are presenting to other people. One is to simply fake it, so we're just pretending that we're sick. For example, when you don't want to go to school and your mom is trying to check your temperature, but you have so far acted so well in terms of to prove the point that you're actually having a fever and feeling unwell, but you still actually completely healthy. However, if you were to somehow make your temperature indeed higher, thus recreating the actual symptom of the fever, then you sort of blur in the reality. So from a person who is actually has been healthy, you, by not normally catching a virus or a bacteria or something like this, creating this symptom within you in some way, you broke the actual reality purposes. So you simulated the symptom inside of you, thus making it real, that then prevents objectively say whether you're sick or not. Just because if you're having a symptom, are you for real sick? Or is it just a simulation of being sick? And that is the new look that Baudrillard has been trying to propose to the society. So how does it play out in Matrix? We have Mr. Anderson, programmer and something like of a modern day drug dealer, maybe not really drug, having his stash inside of, you guessed it right, simulacra and simulation. And because of his rebellious nature, he also finding his way out of the simulation, the matrix, into the real world, where he realizes that the machines has enslaved the human society because humans are providing an energy source for the machines to keep on living. Uh-huh. I kind of get it that Baudrillard found it rather laughable that his concept for the contemporary culture is being sort of used in the movie where conscious civil robots enslaved human race to make Duracells out of them. I know that my criticism for the movie here is probably a little bit unjustified, and actual problem of Baudrillard with The Matrix is that Wachowskis understand the concept of simulation quite literally to what we all would imagine simulation is, while Baudrillard tried to explain and provide a different definition for already known term, that simulation is something much vaguer and closer to the reality rather than imitation or fakeness. I may break some hearts right now, but Matrix is not really a good movie. It's cool. It popularized many things, for example, like bullet time, but it has a lot of plot holes, so to say, or things that are, if you think about it, are rather goofy and illogical, to say the least. And I mean, it's a cool way to explain things with that being a simulation. So rather, many things are possible, and it's all sort of is being constrained by your own imagination, so to say. Like when Neo has been trying to jump from a building to building and this kind of stuff, or when he jumped into the Agent Smith. That was kind of bizarre. But you know, popular doesn't mean good. And the other thing that I realized after going to the cinema to watch the Matrix 4 or Resurrections with some of my friends who turned out to be big fans of the original trilogy, I didn't understand why there was so much hate for this movie. I mean, one thing could be that I just don't really have a good taste, but I think the things that they were claiming that the new movie didn't get right were also rather laughable. It felt like they have a way different perception from the original movie. So after I actually watched the first Matrix again after the Resurrections, I've realized that they definitely have something else in their mind. Not the original Matrix, but rather a simulacrum. Yes, we finally got to the first word from the title of the book, simulacra. Simulacra are the things, the copies of something that actually never had an original, or no longer has an original, which doesn't really make things clearer. But I think it can be explained in a further way. I think part of why Baudrillard initially introduced simulacra was to sort of criticize how the culture started to develop further in sliding into signs and symbols that has been replacing reality with the simulation of reality, in a sense. So, like, the way I understood it, in a way, was our big beloved thing, memes. Everyone loves memes, those silly little jokes, pictures, videos, songs all kinds of media resources could be further used as a meme. And the meme by itself is actually a reference, right? We sometimes may pervert this whole joke that initially started the meme or this funny video to the point where what really matters is just a fragment with just some kind of a punchline or just a little tiny bit of the information that the actual original thing had before it all went viral or the usage of it. So we instead of creating something original, we're sliding into using references for the sake of references. Something so primitive, the meaning doesn't matter to us anymore. The primitivism of using those set of symbols and signs is already enough for us to create a feeling of belonging to the society and to show that we are in the know of what is going on. As arthropods, we replaced all the meaning with those signs and symbols. And so our whole reality right now is just a simulation. And I mean, partially already touches upon into the hyper reality and something that we sometimes may expect from relationship, for example, by being spoon-fed from Hollywood movies and rom-coms what the romantic relationship should look like. We have way different expectation of how it should develop. But yeah, what happens? We notice a recognizable song, image, a video, and it's all perverted to just existing for the sake of being a reference instead of appreciating it's at a face value, so to say. And if Morpheus put it,
welcome to the desert of the real.
I mean, it's Baudrillard. It's actually his term. Moreover, the simulacra are actually no longer mediations of reality, nor the deceptive mediations of reality. They don't even exist in a reality, and they also don't hide a reality. What they do, they simply hide the fact that nothing like reality is relevant to current understanding of our lives. But to put it in layman's terms, what really matters to us right now is what we perceive as a reality and not the reality itself. And this is sort of goes into the fact of the existence of post-truth and the popularization of such term in recent years, that it doesn't matter what real is, what matters what you think the true or the reality in this case is indeed. So our culture right now is bits and pieces, and so is the Matrix, the pretentious action movie that acts seriously while actually being goofy. In this case, Resurrections, Matrix 4, made an attempt to mock a little bit the existence of this whole franchise story. However, what they end up doing is rather mocking the demands from a Warner, who owns the rights for the franchise, to make this fourth film, rather than the whole idea of even the trilogy that was filmed by Wachowskis. But nonetheless, the movie attempted to give a commentary on the whole franchise approach to this cult of money that requires to continuously put out those simulacra, discouraging originality. Their reality is no more. We don't know if we're living in it or living in simulation or imitation. It doesn't exist. However, the movie, The Resurrections, ended up being a gracious additions to the original trilogy, where love saved the world. However, despite of the criticism of profound thinker, I want to give kudos to Wachowskis to even to try to play around with those concepts, especially in the genre that usually being considered not to be the most thoughtful one. If you're still unsure about anything that I mentioned today, please refer to Jean Baudrillard's book, or maybe an explainer about it, because it's quite an interesting concept by itself, that he is actually challenging what we understand by simulation, while this is pretty much the main conflict, that the Matrix uses the simulation in the way we always have been understanding the simulation, while Baudrillard saying the simulation is more than just an imitation or a fakeness of something. And yeah, Matrix is, is a fundamental movie for the pop culture, at least. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you're having a splendid day ahead of you. And like, subscribe, leave a comment. I definitely messed something up in terms of explanation of the whole concept and maybe my perception of the Matrix. So please, welcome to the comments, and hope to have some interesting conversations down below with you. Thank you very much, and bye.